Thank you, Abby. Everything has been a wonderful prelude to what I'm about to talk about. So the reading, the meditation, the songs, the special music, everything has worked perfectly. So the topic, as you have just heard, is living as an awakened heart. You might say, well, what does that mean? Well, the first thing we have to talk about is the fact that there is everywhere equally present in the universe, which is a very large place. Very large. I was doing some reading the other day on the NASA website, and the universe is some 15 billion years old, and there are things that are so far away that we're looking at light that existed there 13 billion years ago. So, as I say, it's a very large place. And this energy field is everywhere equally present. And that is the field of divine love. And you might say, well, I don't feel the divine love field. How can that be? Well, if you stick your hands out, are you feeling HBO? No. Why is that? Because you have to tune it in to a receiver that's capable of receiving microwave transmissions from a satellite beamed at Earth that broadcasts HBO. But you can't hold your hands out and say, well, I don't feel HBO, so it doesn't exist. That wouldn't make much sense, would it? And the same is true of this field called divine love. You can't stick your hands out and say, I don't feel it. Can't be true. What you really are up to is to tune your heart to that field. Because just like any other signal, it needs a receiver. It needs to be tuned in. First, it needs to be turned on, and then it needs to be tuned in. And the process of tuning your heart to receive the ever-present, infinite loving field that is divine love is a process of education, of unlearning. Just like if you tune in, for those of us of a certain age, we used to have analog tuners. You know, you'd have to get the dial tuned just to the right spot, because if you drifted a little bit off, oh, static. And we have a lot of static that is impinging on our ability to tune in to the presence of divine love. And that static comes from what? It comes from our thinking. Our minds are in the way. Joshua, in his commentaries, has suggested that the mind was never supposed to be in charge. The mind is a very, as he says, if you pardon the expression, stupid tool. It measures things, it compares things, it processes ideas and concepts, but it's not supposed to be in charge. What's supposed to be in charge is the heart. The heart is the very essence of who you are and what you're supposed to be doing. You're supposed to be listening to the presence of divine love using your heart. Not your mind, not your brain, not the ego thought system that runs rampant through the brain, screeching, "You can't do that. That's crazy. There's lack. Don't you know that people are angry?" and so forth and so on. And the ego thought system is just crazy. It runs rampant and it makes a lot of static. And what we're up to in creating for ourselves an awakened heart is tuning in to that broadcast that is infinite unconditional love. There is no part of this field that is reserved for the anointed ones. That is just bunk. It's been created by people who wanted to be special. And they made up this story that if you don't worship the right God, if you don't go to the right church, if you don't bow in the right direction and utter the right words, you are in trouble. And nothing could be further from the truth than that concept. And we grew up with the concept of a God who was judgmental. Everybody's heard about Judgment Day. Well, there is no such thing. There is no such thing because God doesn't judge, period. So there is no Judgment Day. And here's the big thing. God doesn't even forgive because there's nothing to forgive, because there's never been a judgment in the first place. There simply are no rules. And you can say, well, how can that be? Well, everything is calculated in this magnificent universe that we live in to be a pathway to us remembering who and what we are. And the way that we remember who and what we are is to practice tuning in to this energy field called divine love. And there are literally millions of discarnate entities who are tuned in, watching us, waiting for us to open the door and give the signal that we're ready for some help. Absolutely tons of spiritual guides, angels, you name it. They go by a whole bunch of names, but they are there, and they are simply waiting for us to open the door, to ask for assistance, to ask, help me see correctly. Help me see this differently. I want to be tuned in to the divine love of God. That's what I want. And there's a wonderful quote from the Course in Miracles that said, if you knew who walks with you along the way you have chosen, fear would be impossible. And that is the story. That is it in a nutshell. If you knew who was waiting in the wings to help you, you would never, ever be fearful of anything. Because indeed, we are eternal beings. Life is eternal. There's no such thing as death. Oh, well, the body will wear out one day and you'll set it aside, but it's just like a suit of clothes that you hung in the closet. You got another suit coming. You've got more and more opportunities to get tuned in. You don't have to do it all in one lifetime, but it's helpful. And the point of this is that as we tune our hearts to receive this broadcast of divine love that is everywhere present in the universe, it has a major impact on the field itself. We participate and help the planet and the universe accelerate its alignment with this field of divine love. And if you've looked around the world or listened to the evening news, you're well aware that there's a crying need for more love. Is there any doubt about that? No, I don't think so. So what's up for us is the ability to assist in the radicalization of the world, that we will subscribe to expressing only loving thoughts, expressing only loving actions. And that means the world will change. And it's not the sooner the better, it's the sooner the easier. Because when we reach this critical mass of hearts that are fully open, that are wide open and accepting of this energy field, we are literally helping to change the world, to change how everything works. It's just amazing what can happen. And one of the things that Dr. David Hawkins said over and over and over again in his career as a doctor, a psychiatrist, a physician, and a student of human consciousness. He was actually knighted by the King of Norway for his work in human consciousness. But he said it over and over and over again, the single most important thing that any human can do for the good of mankind is to raise your own consciousness. And that simply means, it's the same thing as saying, tuning your heart to be open to the field of divine love. And that is just what we're up to. And there's a reason that we can join in this process. You don't have to be a world leader. You don't have to be somebody that's really important. But every single human on earth has equal access to this field. You simply cannot be deprived of your right to access this field of divine love by reason of any attribute that people would care to hang on you. There is simply available to everyone, and everyone is equally loved. There is no judgment. There is only infinite, unconditional love. That's all there is. Unconditional means I don't care whether you're tall or short, or male or female, or something in between. Doesn't matter. It's unconditional. And consequently, we're invited to tune in, turn on, tune in, and create for ourselves this magnificent flow of divine love. And as we increase our capacity to express love, it influences everyone around us. It changes quite literally, the world. And there are some keys to accomplishing this. The first key is desire. Desire is required for anything to happen. If you don't desire it to happen, it's probably not going to happen. So the first thing to desire is your alignment with this field, your wish to turn yourself into a receiver of divine love and a rebroadcaster of divine love in all of your comings and goings. The next key is intention. This requires diligence, because you always have to be aware of the words coming out of your mouth or the thoughts finding a home in your mind. And you must intend that your desire be fulfilled. You must intend not to be distracted. It's easy to be distracted. Ask my wife. I am a highly distractible person. But if you intend to create your desire, you will pay attention to what's working and what isn't working. The third key is allowance. And allowance takes place when you say, everything is happening in divine order. I allow everyone to unfold at their pace. And some people, admittedly, aren't very far along in unfolding their divinity. We've had that experience, haven't we? But ultimately, everyone gets it. And since life is eternal, you don't have to worry about what so-and-so is, you don't have to do that. A key to tuning in to infinite unconditional love is to allow all things to unfold as they're unfolding. And if you see injustice, you can call it out and you can work to change things. But you don't do that by judging somebody as bad and wrong and picking up a cudgel and beating them beside the head, neck, and shoulders. That doesn't work, because that's not what God does. Infinite, unconditional love is what we're talking about. So, and the final key is surrender. Just turn it all over. Say your prayers. Get in touch with your own spirit guides. Choose one that you'd like to follow. Yeshua has said on numerous occasions, I am with you always. I don't think he was lying. I don't think he was kidding. I think he's available. And that's pretty good advice in my book. So I invite you to pick up these tools, turn on your heart as a receiver for the infinite field of divine love, and become literally an agent of change. Become, let us all join together and create this energy field that changes the world. One consciousness at a time is how the world will change. And every time I'm reminded of that Christmas movie, It's a Wonderful Life, when the little girl says, oh, there's a bell, that means an angel got her wings. And I'm thinking the same thing. Every time a consciousness tunes in, the world is one step closer to changing. So, as it always is, it's up to you. I can't do this for you. You have to decide for yourself. I want to be tuned in to the love of God. I want to be connected. I want to express that in all that I do. And if you do, the world will change. And that's my opinion for today.